What comes to mind when you hear the word revolution? You might think of this, or maybe even this. But what exactly is a revolution? It's a word that's thrown around so much that the meaning is blurred. If you want to make an event or a movement sound more important, just add revolution to it. Did people start growing food differently? Agricultural revolution. Did people start making stuff differently? Industrial revolution. Did a politician just come to power? Just add revolution to the end of their name. But are the things we refer to as revolutions actually revolutions? And why are we so obsessed with this idea? Those are the questions I'm going to answer. First off, what is a revolution? When we hear the word revolution, we mostly think about it in a political context. The common definition is a fundamental change in the political order in a short period of time. This is a very convenient definition for people who like to call everything a revolution, but it's missing historical context. The word revolution was borrowed from astronomy. In that context, revolution referred to the movement of celestial bodies. In math, this path is defined as a 360-degree turn. In other words, celestial bodies always return to where they were before. The earliest political usage of the term revolution described a restoration of some former political order rather than a complete break with the past. And we can see this definition applied to earlier revolutions. The first event to be commonly referred to as a revolution was the expulsion of the Stuart dynasty from England in 1688, referred to as the Glorious Revolution. By getting rid of James II, they were restoring their Protestant English constitution. A similar reasoning was applied by many to the American War of Independence. By separating themselves from Great Britain, the Americans would be restoring their English constitution in North America. The French Revolution, however, is another beast entirely. The idea of restoring any former political system was not on anyone's minds. Despite the desire for a completely new political system, they still refer to their movement as a revolution, which is itself a break from the historical use of the term up to that point. Ironically enough, just as the French were busy redefining the term, their actual revolution was following the classical definition by restoring absolutist governments several times. Given this and my Anglophilic sensibilities, I think it's appropriate for us to blame the French for our modern misuse of the term. So if we apply the classical definition of revolution to the ones mentioned earlier, the agricultural and industrial revolutions do not qualify. However, if you apply the definition that the French were simultaneously redefining and violating, then they do. But if the word revolution doesn't accurately apply to most of the terms it's attached to, why do we use it so often? The short answer is Karl Marx. Karl Marx is one of the most influential political philosophers of the modern age. The writings of Karl Marx and other socialists look at the world and everything in it through an economic lens, and interpret all events in history as conflicts between classes. And that mindset is pervasive to this day. Even those who don't subscribe to a Marxist agenda are still thinking in terms of his vocabulary. Every politician goes out of their way to make appeals to the workers.
Filipino tilt-a-whirl operators are this nation's backbone. Salamat.
And when they are in office, they are praised or chastised for how their votes or policies impact the lower classes. In his writings, Karl Marx wrote that the concentration of wealth under capitalism would eventually lead to revolution. Because of him, we see economic inequality as the greatest sin of the modern world. And so, the pervasiveness of Marx's thought in the modern world, combined with our natural inclination to support the underdog in any conflict, leads to us perceiving revolution as being inherently good. Everybody wants to be the good guys. This is why so many movements are referred to as revolutions. If you're fighting for a revolution, then you must be the good guy. And to support anyone else in said conflict would mean that you are supporting the bad guys, and therefore are yourself a bad guy. If you want to be on the right side of history, then you must be seen as a revolutionary. Because of this, every politician, including those on the right, portray their campaigns as a revolution. This line of thought is so pervasive, even Adolf Hitler referred to himself as a revolutionary. There's one more reason why we like the idea of revolution: the possibility of rapid change. The world is never as we want it to be, and the changes we want never happen fast enough. The great appeal of revolution is the speed at which things change. Think of a cause you're passionate about. Now picture that cause being resolved overnight. Just like that, you get what you want without having to raise a finger, making revolution the political equivalent of a get-rich-quick scheme. So there you have it, a word whose meaning has changed, adopted as a means of change, because we want someone else to change.
You say you want a revolution, well, you know, we all want to change the world. You tell me that it's evolution, well,